Hi there. Welcome to Shrewd Wife Life. I'm Lillian, just Lillian. I'm not a psychologist and I haven't been to Bible college or any place that would separate me out as especially holy in knowledge. My credentials are the fact that I'm a survivor. I'm a sister in Christ who believed all the Christian teachings on marriage and I lived them out. What happened is that I ended up trapped in an abusive marriage for almost 34 years, not even realizing it was abuse. That last phrase, not realizing it was abuse, that's not something to brush aside the way I did for so many years. If your marriage has lots of conflict or lots of unresolved conflicts, it might be the key to understanding your own situation. Through my journey, I've accumulated some interesting and some disturbing knowledge about how wolves in sheep's clothing can stay hidden in marriage and even thrive within the Christian community and churches. The clip you're about to watch is taken from my main video titled Unhealthy Relationships: The Hidden Truths About Femininity in Christianity. You can find a link for that at the end of the video. If respect is the language of love for men, and we know it is, then being cleaved to is the language of love for a woman. It's not romance. The reason 2 and 4 matter so much is because they mean completely different things when it comes to a one-flesh relationship. They land in different spots inside the body. If he's cleaving to your heart, then the smallest gesture that he does for you doesn't just feel like a gesture of kindness. It actually becomes a gesture with a romantic overtone. The effect of that romantic overtone is what exponentially increases the growth in your one-flesh relationship. The attachment and connection are super magnified, but it's not the gesture itself. It's what that gesture lands on inside your feminine heart. If a gesture is done for you on your anniversary and he's been authentically cleaving to you, it lands on that pre-existing relationship work that he's already done. He did the relationship work in between Valentine's Day and your anniversary. That's why you experience warmth, fulfillment, emotional connection, and sexual attraction. If your husband is doing the work God has outlined for him in Ephesians 5 and 1 Peter 3, you'll feel loved and invested in. You'll feel seen, and you'll experience being known and contributed to. When a woman experiences that reach into her heart, it's a palpable feeling. It's as tangible as if he's reached out and physically touched her. If his masculinity has already done the work of cleaving to you, receiving from him becomes easy and a joy, and you'll be able to allow your femininity to respond to him in emotional attachment, and you'll want to connect with him. But if he's not cleaving to you, there's nothing for that gesture to land on. There's been no atmosphere created from him investing into you. There's just the gesture itself in isolation. That's why it feels almost painful, because it just falls into a void, because he hasn't done the work that was required for your feminine heart to catch it. So there's just a hollow of an empty space of nothingness. This looks like you receiving a card and a dinner out on Valentine's Day and on your anniversary. But in between those 2 days, for the rest of the year, no cleaving, no connection, no being seen or known. So instead of experiencing a fill-up of romance from the emotional connection and attachment, all those feelings that came from the feeling of being seen, known, and loved, your femininity feels like she has to lie. Remember, we've been taught to not trust, feel, or express our emotions. We've been told to neglect them instead of authentically validate them. In fact, Christian teaching has said to reward any effort a man does, even the most minuscule effort. Do you see it? They've told you to train your husband to breadcrumb you. You train a husband to breadcrumb you by accepting what doesn't feel good to you instead of being honest and truthful. Masculinity doesn't operate that way or learn from that. Men are efficiency machines that constantly run cost-benefit analysis on the back burner for every scenario. When you reward a man for doing a 7 out of 10 towards your heart, he's not going to do an 8 next time. He's going to do a 6. That's the nature of testosterone. So, by not expressing your authentic feelings, you end up feeling neglected and further isolated. Actually, worse than empty, because you've extracted from the nothingness within your own heart in order to respond with a fake feeling of being emotionally connected, in hopes that you get an 8 next time. Remember, the feminine receives, then does. She feels good to respond with good. So in the case of breadcrumbing, you're expecting your inner girl to respond out of receiving nothing into her. She can't. That's not how God designed femininity to respond. So all she can do is fake a response of good, because there's been no masculine touch point as her source. You try and receive those gestures that he does for you so that you don't hurt his feelings. You try and experience the love that's not coming into your heart, because Christianity has told wives that's what an excellent wife does. And you try and try and try to feel hopeful at the moment of cognitively accepting what he did for you. But instead of feeling loved and known and experiencing growth in the one flesh relationship, you experience a deficit. The gesture done for you that you tried to accept and embrace just turns into a deathly loneliness, because the feeling you experience, again, is deferred hope. Your husband hasn't previously cultivated into your heart. Those gestures done for you will not create emotional connection. The only way gestures of kindness done for you will connect to your heart is if your husband is already cleaving to you. If he's not, it only lands on the surface in the cognitive analytical space in your head, and then it's gone. If you're being breadcrumbed in your marriage, those gestures become more crumb-like over the years, more painful, more disconnected, more sad and lonely, because every breadcrumb exposes more lack of connection from him. But if he's cleaving to you, those same little gestures he does for you, as they're interspersed on the top of your marriage, they fall down deep into your heart, because he's already created a kind of pocket or a landing space inside of you. Your feelings matter. Your inner girl will signal to you whether you're being breadcrumbed or not. How do you feel 2 or 3 weeks after the special occasion? How do you feel in the in-between of special occasions or events? Do you like how it feels? When you're being cleaved to, it feels like a magnetic glue that pulls you towards him as he reaches into your heart, as he breathes his masculine source into your femininity. Breadcrumbs feel like a gasp of air that you've been pining and craving for, and then it disappears on the exhale. If respect is the language of love for men, and we know it is, then being cleaved to is the language of love for a woman. It's not romance.